You've done it again, Dwayne. So Skyscraper is the latest film coming to us from Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, and this is a story about a man who has lost his leg while fighting in the war in Afghanistan, and he has now been gained a prosthetic leg. After leaving the military, he has now joined as a security advisor, and he is brought in to investigate the new world's tallest building known as the Pearl in Hong Kong. When he does this, he's checking all the security, and while this is going on, his family has been given the opportunity to stay in this residential suite within the building, which is yet to be opened. However, some terrorists then enter the building, set the building ablaze, and while the Rock's family's still in there, he has to get back into that building, rescue his family, and save the day. Pretty typical Rock scenario, and yes, that does sound very similar to Die Hard. We'll get to it. Now, first off, I need to talk about the trailer for this film because the trailer is absolutely atrocious. If you are planning on watching this movie and you haven't seen the trailer, do not watch it. The trailer spoils literally everything within this film. Every single intense moment within this film is in the trailer, so do not watch it if you haven't, if you're planning on watching this movie, because it is honestly one of the worst trailers for spoiling I think I've ever seen. All the intense moments that are supposed to be intense were not, because I'd already seen them like 10 times in the trailer, because this trailer came up a lot in the cinema, so I kept seeing it, so I was just like, yeah, I've seen this before. I'm kind of lukewarm to it at this point. Now, in terms of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, he is, of course, great in this film, as he is in everything. I think it's impossible for this guy to be uncharismatic or uncharming. It's just not within his MO, it's just not what he does. Also, I just think Dwayne is a really nice guy. I mean, he seems like that, he comes across like that, and I just think he's one of those guys who, you know, he works so hard in Hollywood, you know, he does so many movies a year, he's always putting his 110% into it, and that is true here with Skyscraper. What I particularly admire about Dwayne Johnson's performance in this film is that he particularly plays against type here, which he doesn't normally do. Obviously, The Rock is normally this big macho guy, but in here, he's actually very vulnerable. You know, he has lost a leg, and that comes into play a lot in the film, and seeing how he deals with this situation and how he actually can sometimes use that to his ability, but also sometimes to a disadvantage, is very interesting, and I have to say, I feel like he really gave a good performance, and this is maybe one of the best performances I think Dwayne Johnson's ever given, because it was really able to show a different side of him, and a different type of character that he's not used to playing, and I really appreciated that. Also, it was really great to see Neve Campbell again. I haven't seen Neve Campbell in a movie for a long time, so it was really nice to see her pop up again. She plays Dwayne Johnson's wife in the movie, and she was really good here too. I really enjoyed her performance. Her playoff with The Rock was very good. I think she was really good, and just had a really believable relationship with not only Dwayne, but also with the kids in the film, who also were pretty good. I didn't think the kids were particularly annoying in this film, which is always a positive. But I feel like Neve Campbell gave a really nice, grounded performance, and I really enjoyed what she got to do in the film, and it was just nice to see Neve Campbell again. Now, this movie has a lot of negatives to it. I feel like this movie really just rips off so many other things. Obviously, the obvious choice is Die Hard. This movie is a straight-up rip-off of Die Hard, and while you can see that through and through just the story, there's even many things it rips off. Like, for example, there's a scene that is so reminiscent of the Tom Cruise climbing the Burj Khalifa scene in Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol. There's literally a shot which is identical to that film, and I was very surprised when they got away with that. Also, the opening scene in this film I found very reminiscent of Sicario. Even down to the musical cues, it was very similar to Sicario. Like, if you've seen either Sicario or Sicario Day of the Soldado, when they have that particular noise, you'll know what I mean if you've seen the films. They have that very particular distinguished sound, which is associated with Sicario. They kind of do their own version of that in this opening scene with Skyscraper. And again, I just found it quite weird that they've ripped off so many different films. There was even a couple more that I can't remember off the top of my head. But this movie just rips off so much from so many different films. There's barely an inch of originality in here. Also, I think this movie is extremely poorly written. I think like there's so many dialogue scenes that are completely undercut because they're so cheesy and so lazy at times. And I know a lot of people will argue that this is supposed to be, you know, like a throwback 90s action film, and it's supposed to be fun and it's supposed to be like that. But you can have a throwback 90s action movie but still have the action, you know, be supported by good dialogue and a good story and a well-written concept. And this movie doesn't have that, and I feel like it completely cuts the legs off the film because it doesn't have anything to stand on. I think that this movie really could have done with just some smart dialogue that actually established these characters well. Because other than Dwayne Johnson and Neve Campbell, I think the characters in the movie are pretty terrible for the most part. And again, a lot of the performances in this movie are pretty terrible, apart from those two. So, for the most part, I think that this movie really needed a solid script and a solid story, but it didn't get that. Also, speaking of the plot of the film, it's extremely convoluted for no reason. This film just decides to go on all these different plot twists, and I swear there's about like 5 different plot twists within the third act alone, and there's so much that just goes on that is so unnecessary. This movie didn't need to have the terrorist plotline. This movie simply could have been a fire which broke out within the tower for natural causes. This didn't have to feature any terrorists or anything like that. And then within that, within this terrorist storyline, there's so many other plot twists that goes on in terms of the owner of the tower and things like that. It's so pointless and so overly convoluted that it's actually just hard to follow, which when you go into a movie like this, that's not what you expect. So your brain's not ready for it. So when it happens, you just completely get lost. And I'm not going to lie to you, I don't really know what most of the twists were in the third act of this film, because I just didn't know, and I was just thinking that the movie needs to explain this better, but again, because the movie has terrible scripting issues, I don't think it was able to deliver that whatsoever. Also, this film is just incredibly stupid. It really is. I mean, this movie is big, dumb, and it's just... I can't really say that as a complaint, because this movie knows. This movie knows exactly what it is, and it knows it's dumb, and I always say, if a movie knows how bad it is, and if it knows how dumb it is, and it knows that it's, it's in a self-aware type of context, I can't really give that as a negative. But sometimes I just feel like this movie, in terms of, like I said, that scene that really resembles Mission Impossible 4 is incredibly dumb. It doesn't make any sense, and it just shouldn't work in the movie. And to be honest, it didn't work for me. It might work for some people who are looking for that kind of thing, but for me personally, I really did not find that scene to be an inch enjoyable, because I was like, this just doesn't make sense at all. However, I guess I have to come back to the point that, all movies, what are they? Movies are a form of entertainment. They are supposed to entertain people. And the question is, did this movie entertain me? And the honest answer is yes, this movie did entertain me. Although this film is incredibly stupid, poorly written, overly convoluted, and with pretty bad performances for the most part, the film is fun. It's a big, dumb summer action film. And if that's what you're looking for, that's what you'll get here. And I feel like this movie really knows that. And it just knows that it wants to be this big, dumb film. It doesn't need all this different stuff. And like I said, I feel like it would have been more of a summer movie if it wouldn't have had all those plot conveniences. Because then, like I said, that actually completely negates a lot of the stuff that goes on earlier. But the fact that this film is just a big, dumb summer action blockbuster, it just knows it, and again, it kind of rides it on its shoulders. So I can't really take that away from the movie, and again, I feel like this movie is entertaining, and if you're going into it knowing that, you're going to enjoy Skyscraper. So did you guys see Skyscraper? If you did, tell me all your thoughts about it in the comment section down below. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Let's have a great conversation about Skyscraper in the comment section down below. And as always, guys, if you want to see more movie reviews from me, be sure to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss a video. And I hope to see you guys again next time.